start today's episode, we would like to apologize for the amount of profanity. Pet peeves make us all irritable, and that's what happened today. And that's why you're hearing a lot of inadvertent f-bombs.
It's a good hook.
Yeah, that's a great hook. I also think we should probably cut my dog shit story. That is not a good look. Now that I'm thinking about it.
So James, I jumped in. I heard you saying
So
we
John,
could go on for hours.
So what happened was,
is that better?
I jump in here.
What? Yeah, but
it was fine. I jump in here, and John he was doing something on his screen. He couldn't see that I entered. You know what I mean? And he's got this look on his face that looks like this. It's like, and I'm just like, what are you doing? And John, you want to know what you're smiling? Tell everyone what you're smiling about.
We use a program for our podcast that I create an email address every week, a new email address, and then I cancel it immediately after part of that hosting because I'm a cheap bastard, right? But all the names that I give, I find are pretty funny, and you might want to bleep some of these out. The first name, I was reading all the names of the accounts, and it's at gmail.com and at gmail.com. Turd Ferguson at and of course there's numbers because I'm not the only person that's ever done this. But my thought when James came in, I was like, how is somebody not seeing this in the CRM and being like, what the hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, this guy does an episode and then immediately cancels. Anyway.
Yeah,
it's funny.
He was entertaining himself, laughing hysterically at this is a middle-aged man.
I also think that's why I alienate so many people. And I'm realizing on LinkedIn, like, I'll put a comment. They have no idea that I'm joking, right? Thank you. They have no idea that I'm joking. And I realize that now. And you know how I'm realizing it? They don't engage with the post, like a like or whatever, but they visit my profile. In other words, they're like, who the fuck is this guy?
That's honestly why I had to start putting number 3 ranked sarcastic commenter in my headline, is so people can see right away I'm fucking around, as opposed to
I got to do that. I literally have to do that on a post.
I think it literally has made a difference from people like thinking I'm an awful person or ready to fight me to like, oh, he's kidding.
They're thinking I'm an awful person. I'm alienating, and that's not my intention. I'm just trying to have a good time. Like, there was a post where I know this guy, but maybe he doesn't know that I'm joking. He talks about like all the luxuries, where it's just like having a good partner in life, having a good home cooked meal, smelling the like fresh flowers in the morning. And I was like, this is not verbatim. I was like, a couple luxuries you left off is a cleaning lady and a home with 2 bathrooms. No, dude, not accepted. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's right in my wheelhouse. I would have.
Yeah. You know what's funny though? Like, I guess the thing that sucks that I do just to make sure I call it out is I use emojis. I overuse the laughing emoji, way overuse it. But it's like I have no other way of just like of saying like, this is obviously a fucking joke. Like,
I think
here's my emoji.
The laughing emoji is a step in the right direction, more so than like J/K, like JK.
I always hate that.
But I also, I guess, maybe it's a purist in me, like humor explained is like humor denied. So if I put the emoji on there, I'm kind of losing the full reaction. Either way, I know I'm pissing people off, and I think I might take the headline piece to it.
Do we just kick right in, James, to the intro then?
Yeah, let me intro this. That was maybe part of the cold intro. So welcome everyone to the most ill-conceived business podcast around. The Business is Bullshit podcast. I'm James Hornick. Joining me are 2 gentlemen who love to see me blow people up on the internet, Jared Gibson and John Sarakis. Although from what we just talked about, maybe John probably does it more than I do. I don't know.
No, this was good theater today on your post, James. I was pumped. I was pumped to see that.
I don't know what happened.
As soon as I saw that comment on your post, I was like, yes. And I like screenshot it and I sent it to James. I was like, I cannot wait to see this.
The instigator.
Happen.
And unfortunately, we should have screenshotted more things. So anyways, what we were doing today, before episode 12, we've made it this far. We are doing pet peeves or bullshit, or that are bullshit. I don't know. Really, it's just a brainstorming. We're going to brainstorm live for everyone. And some of these will probably become topics of future podcasts, but we're going to still wind each other up on stuff that pisses us off in general. most of which is business related, some which is not. But before what happened earlier today is I made a post this week, and I feel very strongly about this, by the way. You're going to be shocked that I feel strongly about something. The premise was that AI is making us dumb liars, basically. There's two problems. Like, I use the shit out of AI nowadays. I know you guys do. Like, I know everyone listening probably does. But there's two things we have to recognize. Now, the first thing was that it's literally making everyone dumber. There was the quick version of this was there was actually something else that I read. Didn't come up with this myself, but like human cognition has gone down for the past 15 years for the first time in like centuries. And it's because ever since like smartphones came out, people were having to do less everyday mundane problem solving, like how to navigate a city with a map. All of a sudden, it just gives you turn by turn directions. Long story short, it's a real thing. There's definitely like human cognition's going down, but it's the liars part, which the second part of this, that I feel very strongly that using AI to pretend like you're personalizing something, especially when you're relating it to something someone may have said or something they wrote when you did not hear them or listen to them or read that, that is a lie.
Pet peeve one. Pet peeve one.
Yeah.
You know what though? It's not only a lie; it's a total fail. It's supposed to enhance what it is that you're doing.
So let me give you the context. There was a company I know of that they had someone come through offer stage, and during one of the interviews, the candidate sent a blatantly AI written thank you letter, and it just turned everyone off. And they're like, "Yeah, we're not going with this person." Now, mind you, the backstory context of this is that they hired another person. It's not like they didn't make a hire just to blackball this person. But they're like, "Yeah, we're going to go with the person that actually gave a shit and like actually wrote a nice note." Like, I also have to point out too, because this is where the idiots out there miss it. This was not a top of the funnel someone. This was like multiple in-person. These people are going to be working with for years. You know what I mean? Building a team with, and you don't even have the ability to write 3 sentences out of your own head to say thank you for your time. Like, who wants to work with that fucking person? Anyways, long story short, I didn't. Go ahead, Jared.
I was just going to say, I think that you're avoiding hiring that person because they are not smart enough to edit. If they're going to use it, edit it to make it their own voice. It's just right. If they're not smart enough to do that, that's a huge red flag.
It's just carelessness, you know. Yeah. Anyways, so I was expecting to get a few job seekers get upset because job seekers that like they just get pissed about fucking everything. There was one guy who said something about maybe when recruiters stop using AI to send crappy outbound to like solicit us for jobs. I'm like, and the thing is like, I don't even think there's anything wrong with using AI if it's boilerplate and it's blatant. Like, I'm not pretending that I know you. As long as it's relevant, that's what people care about. That's what people really get upset about with like outbound is that it's not relevant. By the way, this is still not even the pet peeve part of the show. There was one person who responded, an employer passing on potential new employee because they use a piece of tech that's supposed to make our lives simpler is one of the dumbest things I've heard. Blah, blah, blah. Continuing on. Then again, a recruitment process is no flaming hoops. Side note, any recruiter in the comments agreeing with this decision of the OP, me, shouldn't be allowed in the profession.
Wow. All right.
So I'll edit this so we add the screenshot in and I'll blur out the guy's name.
So you shouldn't be allowed in profession. Of course, I just reply back because that is not even worth my time. Like, did you write that yourself? And then he got
shots fired.
He deleted it, but the follow up response was something along.
He didn't delete it.
Oh my! I can't see it.
Oh, it's still there. He blocked your ass. That's why
because
you
he
can't
blocked
see it.
you.
But he can't block me on my own post though. That's the thing. Is like you can't.
No, I still see. I saw the whole conversation.
I
added to the end of it.
That's the equivalent of someone saying like, "Well, she asked for it." You know what I mean? All
right, Jared, read it off if you have it. We'll have to edit the shit of this.
Yeah. So he wrote back, "Your comment isn't as funny as you think it is," and then that's what he said. You wrote back, "Just to be clear, you're literally saying any recruiter who believes in personalization shouldn't be a recruiter. That is quite the take." He wrote back, "Oh my, OMFG. Are you actually being serious? Are you one of those silly little people poking others to get a response? Well, you did it. What I'm quite clearly saying is any recruiter looking for dumb ways to turn down perfectly good candidates shouldn't be in the profession. Hopefully that's clear now. And seriously, I can't respond anymore to this as you've got what you needed. And I hate myself for even replying to this insane dribble. And you finish it off with, "You're the one who stopped by when no one asked you to." Don't get upset. Don't get upset. This isn't the one-way street you were hoping for. You also fail to realize the company hired someone else, someone who took their interview process seriously enough to personalize a response. Please tell me why that's a bad thing. I'll wait.
Yeah, it's just so there's two things about this, and we're gonna have to clean the hell out of this.
I think there's
It's
three.
one, it's people that think they have the right to just respond on the internet and light you up, like without any risk that no one's ever gonna clap back at them. Like these are people who never had actually got in a fight as a child. I think I don't know. Like there are consequences to saying dumb things on the internet. It's not a free pass all the time. Right. And if you're not capable of someone snapping back at you and actually putting you, especially when you're saying something objectively stupid, like. That's your problem. Second off, what bothers me too is like the entire premise of everything I wrote was this was not like a top of the funnel, someone sent an AI response to an application. This was multi-interviews where they were in there and talking to people. And for you to think it's acceptable to kind of blow that off and then say, well, they're a bad firm. No, they're not. They hired someone else who cared because they care. Like, how are you not putting it together that someone else who did more effort would have been unfair if that person got rejected? Like, get the fuck out of here. Go home.
Can I read? I think that our text chain is funnier than the actual.
Yeah.
I'm going to read one of these. This is from James on our text chain. The whole, in quotes, "I want to come to your page and make comments without recourses," end quote. Not on my page, motherfucker.
I'm at a lunch and I'm watching this like blow up, and I was just like, "What the hell is going on?"
And the thing is, it's not even that big of a deal. Like this is just a regular Friday for me. Like,
it's not.
Whatever.
It's funny though.
But
it is funny because you wanted this to happen.
But I think a fight is a good analogy. Like there's people that have not ever been like punched in the face.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Bill Burr does a whole good bit on it. Like when you get punched in the face, you're like, oh wow, there's consequences to something. Like maybe I shouldn't do that because there's a line, right? So I think that's part of it. But I think the other thing too is that they didn't realize like the depth and the blackness that's in your heart. Right. So like this guy steps into that room and it just gets owned. You know?
Well, the thing that's craziest about it to me, though, I was expecting like a job seeker to say this, and I would at least understand because there's a lot of frustrated people out there. But for a recruiter to say this, like if you interviewed somebody for your company multiple times and they sent you a really like blow it off half-assed note, you're saying you should have hired them? Like, no, you should be the one not in the profession anymore. Get out of here.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Anyway. All right. Let's tie a bow around this and move on to the.
All right. So what we're really talking about today, although that is a pet peeve episode.
It is
pet peeves. We're just gonna. I'll go later because I've just been ranting for the past 5 minutes here. We kind of set this out. We have some ideas for their podcast want to do. We thought it might be fun to let's just kind of spitball a bit on stuff that generally annoys us, tied to business or not. We had the assignment of coming up with 2 that we think are business focused or close enough, and 1 personal. Jared, how about you go first? What do you got?
Yeah. All right. So business, first one. And I've seen this, and it sucks, is leaders that fake authenticity. They look down on others. They have a fake open door policy. They don't take others' opinions into account. Really chaps my ass, boys. I can't stand that shit.
Such a Midwestern way to put it. He really grinds my gears. Let me tell you.
Golly gee.
I've been around leaders that are really good, that have a true open door policy and actually take into account opinions and suggestions that people within the company that aren't obviously on their level have. But then I've been around ones that when they get up in front of the room, they're all rah, rah, rah. And then if you ask anybody that sees them off stage, they're like, yeah, that dude's a piece of shit.
Dude, I worked with a guy that could cry on command, right? Like, so he would give this speech, right, about like how the company started, and then he would tear up, and then we would, it would be over, and I was like, his like second in command, and we get up, he's like, all right, he's like, fuck him, let's go get a drink, It's just like, Jesus, dude, like, I mean, it's just so like jarring to just see that in some people. It's almost at a level that's like psychopathic.
I think this really, this is some level this really been around. I think this really started, I'll say like the early 2010s. I'd like to say like in the 2000s, it was kind of the tail end of like corporate bro culture. You know what I mean? And it's a good thing that's gone. It's a good thing we kind of, but when people got, I mean, Who doesn't? I mean, who doesn't miss drinking in the office? Anyway, so I really think it's when companies started putting this on the forefront that we need to like treat people with respect and just like show up and like be your best self. Like, the problem is that a lot of people who don't actually have like empathy, they just hear those things as like as terms they need to repeat, and that's enough of doing their job, and it just turns into platitudes. And I don't even think those people, because they're partly psychopathic, as John kind of said, they don't even realize there's a deficiency in themselves. They just think they're saying the things they're supposed to say, and that's good enough, as opposed to actually being a good leader and a good person, whatever.
Yep. I think empathy is the perfect word. I think that there's a ton of really, really bad leaders that just lack empathy. All right. So that's one. Number two is, no call, no shows. I think if you no call, no show, then it shows a lot about your character as a person and as a business person, as a human. No call, no shows, I'm okay with. If there's a follow-up where somebody falls on the sword, says, hey, my bad, whatever, not a problem. We've all been there. We've all done that. Like, this slipped through the cracks on my calendar. I think that if you no call, no show, and you put something on a calendar, and then you don't follow it up with some type of message or something, I think you're a piece of shit. I've been no call, no showed many, many a times in my career. So maybe this is coming as a chip on my shoulder. It just says a lot about who you are as a person.
I think it comes down to just it's respect and time. Time is one of the only things you can't give back. And if somebody's like, I fall into some of these traps, right? So I'll go to almost any meeting, and I'll give an example of the one the other day. This guy owns like an HR company. I already have friends that own HR companies, and I was like, I don't need to meet somebody else that owns an HR company. And but I was like, I'm just going to go to the meeting. And I had super low expectations. It was almost at the point where I was going to start the meeting like, dude, I'm never going to buy what you have. I'm never going to refer you anything. I like being direct. I totally misjudged the situation. Like, he had sold an HR company. He didn't even care about HR companies. He just wanted to connect. And he's just such a cool guy. And we hit it off, and we're looking at like doing a whole other project together. But I think that's the power of actually keeping your meetings, having some integrity, and just show up. It's that, everybody said it for years. And with that, if you are a piece of shit and you don't care about the other person's time, well, maybe on the flip side of that, be a little bit of selfish, and maybe something will come out. So it's a win-win either way.
Yeah. Hey, that was well said, John.
I want to tangent this only because it dovetails into one of mine that I had, because I think coming back to it would make any sense. But my first number one, so we'll cover two birds with one
whale
stone.
tails.
Time thieves. This concept, it's the same. It's like I've always joked that like the worst crime you could commit is murder. Second worst crime you commit is rape. Third worst crime is stealing someone's fucking time, just as John said. Like, you can get your money back, you get your belongings back, you cannot get your time back. You only have so much on this planet. And that's what Jared's talking about with like people no call, no showing meetings, not having respect for time. That's frankly long talkers. That's people who extend meetings needlessly, pointlessly. I mean, there's a million examples of people who just rob you of like your most precious resource, which is your time. And that's both in the professional and personal life. So, but that's not one of them. Anyways,
well said. We can come back. I think we'll likely come back to that in a little bit. Okay. But my last one, this is my personal one, and I've got many. As anybody that knows me knows that I've got a shit ton of personal pet peeves. But I'm going to give two really quick ones because I think one is people that don't put their shopping cart back in the rack. I think you're a scum of earth if you don't put your shopping cart and you just leave it in the middle of the parking lot. Like, there's a cold place in hell for you when you die. Don't say that. Don't say you have. There's no fucking counterpoint to this.
There is a counterpoint. There is one.
If elderly that can't make it, just like that's why they put the car rack next to their handicap spot. Let me get to my other one.
Okay,
really quick. The other one is just because I'm watching the Masters on this screen. People that cheat at golf, those are also pieces of shit.
All right. So I've had this argument. I really don't care at all about the shopping cart thing, but I will say this, because this was like a long time ago, someone posted that on LinkedIn as their whole like, I'm a good person because I put my shopping cart back, and everyone like one of those like platitude. Yeah. Who makes that
points
post
for that? Yeah.
My friend, who he's like, I have to step in here. He's like, I worked at a grocery store when I was a teenager in my early 20s. He's like, the best time of my day is when I got to go outside and collect the shopping carts because it got me outside. It got me out of doing the harder work. I got to like just
mow down some cowboys.
yeah, got to smoke some cigarettes. Like according to him, he was like he's like that was the best part of the job was not having to do any real work because he had to go out and like get out of what everyone else is doing and just go collect the shopping cart. So I'm just
job
saying
security.
that is the counterpoint. I'm just saying.
Okay,
that's a great counterpoint. Top
I see that, but the mindset when somebody leaves their shopping cart in the rack is not, I'm going to leave this here so that Billy can come out and clean it up in a little bit. It is
inconsiderate. It is laziness, but I am saying that you're inadvertently doing somebody else a favor. Anyways.
Yep. All right. The same people that leave their shopping cart in the middle of the lot are the same people that don't clean up their dog shit. So that's another one, but I'm done. My turn's up.
You know what? So the clean up the dog shit thing. So
that's bigger than the carts.
So I grew up with dogs, kind of grew up on like a little bit of a ranch type of scenario. And then when I moved into like, a shitty little deed restricted neighborhood as like my first house, I'm like, 19 years old or whatever. And I had a dog and I didn't pick up its shit. Right. And this lady, I remember she like pulls up in her car and she comes, she's like, "Hey, sir, you need to go back there and pick up your dog's droppings." And I had like a really bad day. And I just like looked at her and I was like, "Lady," and I like lean in like her little toilet roll. I was like, "Stay in your little piece of shit car and get the fuck out of here." Right. So she like zooms off or whatever. It was so shitty of me, but we grow. But then, like,
this was like 3 weeks ago.
But no, then of course, you become like a better human as you begin to age, and then you realize like what a fucking disgusting piece of shit I was to not pick up dog shit. And then I had dogs, and then you realize if everybody is not picking up their dog shit, like that is the most disgusting thing ever. So. Yeah,
that is human growth right there, John. It's very heartwarming.
I remember that lady's face, just a total Karen. Like what the hell, like, dude, like. What if I was just not the person I am and just like freaked out? It's like the people in neighborhoods or whatever that are screaming at your car to slow down. It's like, hey.
What if you were an even more unhinged person than you are? Anyway.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, who's up?
John, why don't you lead? Go ahead. We'll lead into you. It's yours.
I'm a very opinionated person.
This is going to be good. I can't.
Well, first off, I think people that are like messing with somebody else's harmony, screaming at them to like do something, I don't like that. Anyway, so that's a given. All right. When it comes to businesses, the one that business pet peeves, the one that I think really annoys me is word salad. When somebody's just literally just bloviating and pontificating and they aren't saying a fucking thing. Like it literally tears at the fabric of my soul, right? And there's other people, especially when it's like when they're trying to defend a point, and you're like, you're just saying words. Like these strung together don't mean anything, right? All right, that's pet peeve number one. All right, I think a lot of people
I would agree. I would even take a step further with people who aren't choosy with their words. Like not every maybe I don't have a good kind of way of backing this up, but I do feel like I've had conversations with people where like they actually know what they mean, what they're saying, or they're so inarticulate and unclear in their word choice. Different from bloviating, but just general like lack of ability to articulate their thoughts.
I think I'm that sometimes. Like I want to explain stuff to my wife, or in general, you guys know this. I'll start to say something and I'll realize halfway through it while I'm saying it, I'm like, this sounds really fucking bad right now. In my head, I'm saying, this is not good. Like, what are you talking about? I'm literally telling myself to shut the fuck up, but I won't. I just keep going until I make my point. And by the time I get done, it's like, that made no sense. I apologize.
Yeah, dude, that's word salad. Nobody likes the way it tastes. Yeah. But do you call yourself out on it? Or you're like, hey, look, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
What do you think?
Yeah. No, I've never heard you do that.
You never have heard me say, you've never heard me say, in the middle of a talk track, you've never heard me cut myself off and just say, "Never mind, I'm not making any sense."
Yeah, I have heard you say that. Okay, I have heard you say that. Right, which is class. That's a class.
I do think that's not there is a difference between people who like can't find the right words and people who can't find the right words but just decide to keep talking anyway and don't even think there's anything wrong with that. And
yeah.
All right. What else you got, John?
This is kind of a business/personal pet peeve, and it comes down to like overly sensitive people. My mouth is shaped like a foot. Like I really don't intend to hurt people. Here's a perfect example. We're at dinner the other night, and a waiter introduces himself, and I heard his name as Ratchet, and I didn't know if his dad was like a mechanic or something. And I just wanted to get a correction. I was like, "Hey, did you say your name was Ratchet?" And then I look at his face, and he like goes back like this, and I was like, "Oh," he's like, "No, I said my name was Rich." And I was like, "Oh." And then I look over at my wife, and like her jaw's like pretty much dropped, and I'm like, "Like what the fuck is going on?" And then my wife is like, "Why would you say that?" And I was like, "Why would I say what?" And she says that like ratchet is a term that girls will like say to each other that means like rude, obnoxious, annoying. And obviously that guy knew that definition, and I didn't. So people
I've
that you
never heard
can't
that.
I had neither, but look this up.
I've
This
heard,
is like a
I've heard the
slang
word,
term.
and I know the word ratchet.
Okay.
That looks
Okay.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, to like, some men, it means like it's a wrench that you turn and it clicks,
Yeah.
and you kind of switch it back and forth. Anyway, I didn't realize it was like a slur in some form. The point I'm making is that people, when you can't work it out after saying something like that, or saying a joke that you didn't mean and like have that conversation, yeah, fuck those people. I literally don't. I mean, that's if you just want to be a professional victim and like hold on to that, whatever that mistake is, because I organically make so many just being a human and not trying to hurt people. No, you make the world a worse place, and you probably just take your shopping cart and just let it go after after you put your groceries away. And that kind of went into my so it's something that essentially people that also can't take a joke. And then I would say I noticed I got to sum this up. Billionaires without a full head of hair, like if you got that much money, you should just have like an amazing mane of like why wouldn't you? Like you are a billionaire. Like it should just be like the most gnarliest Fabio type of hair or whatever you want. And then I'd say the last one is people that give unsolicited advice about something that you have already handled that is that is a much better solution than they could ever offer, and you were just answering a question or providing an update. For instance, like somebody's like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And you tell them like, "Oh, the plumber's over. He's cleaning the pipes." It's like, you know what you should really do, and you're like, no, shut the fuck up. I just told you.
I already did
it's
it.
handled. Yeah, like I don't need your enhanced solution. Like there's no point. Anyway, so those are my pet peeves.
Now, the funny thing about this is I really thought that like Jared was going to have the most to say because this was his idea. And then when I come into the chat here, I'm looking at our prep documents. I just want to know what's coming up in case I can think of something to interject here. John he just rattled through like 6 different things there. There were like 3 or 4 more that he was like in the process of deleting as I got in here because he's like, "Oh, this is too much." I didn't realize John had the most pet peeves of all of us. Honestly.
I mean, John, I think all the ones you say and you articulated them very well. You're clearly racist toward bald people for whatever reason. That's for you to decide.
Jared always wears his hat during these podcasts. Sometimes when I see Jared out without a hat on, I don't even recognize him.
All right, hey, this is perfect. Jared, if you were a billionaire, would you have a full head of hair?
Well, funny story. No, because the reason is because my wife likes bald guys. So
does she?
No. Yes. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You're right.
Suspect.
I'm gonna go talk to her about that. Maybe she's a liar. No, I think all the stuff you said. I can't stand people that can't take a joke. I think, it's like, stop taking yourself so seriously. Like life is too short to take yourself too serious. Like relax a little bit. It was a joke. Didn't mean anything bad by it.
It is such a strong bonding agent when you can take a joke and then give one back. Like that to me shows like cohesion of just like in human nature, right? If you are instantly like looking for ways to get offended, there is no shortage of those markers and signals out in the world. And that's just an awful way to be, man. If you can just let things rub off your shoulder or find humor in it, I don't know.
How many people do you think we've offended with in 11 episodes of our podcast? We probably offended
of the
quite a few
7
people.
listeners, probably 4 of them.
But they keep coming back. Those 4.
They do. That's right. Absolutely. That's what it's all about. Those 4, and hopefully they tell 4 more. We will double.
All right, James.
All right, drum roll.
All right. So the first one we already talked about is time thieves and just people who generally suck up your time needlessly. I think that some of them are intentional because they're attention whores. They feel like they need to have the mic on them all the time, or they need to always be talking, or they think their time is more valuable than yours, or they don't realize or can't comprehend you've already come up with the solution to something and they still feel the need to dive into it, or they like extending meetings because they're awful people. I don't know. But in general,
psychologically, what is that person though? Like what is? I don't understand the reason that they do it. Like I really
person?
don't.
Like
the meeting extender, the person that just keeps going on. You're like, do you not feel heard? Like what the fuck?
I think the meeting extenders are people who want to be seen as smart, or they feel like they need to, if they're showing up to something, they need to make sure everyone else knows that they have something to say, even if it's just being redundant what someone else already said, or they didn't listen to what was said previously and they're repeating something that's already been done. I don't know what it is.
I had one that I didn't talk about, but it kind of dovetails into this, and it's the people that need credit for everything.
Yeah,
like a company,
glory hound.
A glory hound. The people at the companies that take credit for everything and need credit, when the best employees or the best leaders are the ones that just sit back and, even though I'm the one that did most of this, like, you can take credit for it. I don't give a shit. Like those, I can't stand people that need to take credit for everything.
Yeah, employees that get upset when you give credit to somebody that did a good thing, and they're just upset that they're just not getting attention. Dude,
it's definitely it's all related to deal with it somehow.
It is. It is. You're right.
All right.
Next,
James.
over.
Next one. Lack of curiosity. And I think that people who don't have an interest in learning anything new that could help them professionally or with what they're doing right now. There's a million examples in terms of like AI is an easy example, but like a million tools you could be using, different processes you could be using. I don't want to say self-help betterment, but skill development, or getting feedback from people, or just having interest outside of work that could end up benefiting work at some point in time. People don't have any like hobbies that are of interest, like I do believe, because there's actually an upside to this, but I truly believe that the most successful people that I work with, as well as I've seen around, are people who are just curious about how things. You can't get better unless you have some curiosity and like how things work, how they get better. But at the flip side too, I say this is an annoyance, but I do think it's a career advantage for people who do have intellectual curiosity. I'm a big believer in the concept of like compound learning. Like if you commit to learning new things over and over again every day or every week, every month, after many, many years, you're just going to know more than other people and be more capable. But Kobe. you don't get there.
Kobe Bryant's thing. Have you ever heard him, Kobe, talk about that? Like practicing, where he's like, everybody asks, why are you so much better? And he's like, because I found out when everybody went to the gym and then I came in 2 hours later or earlier and stayed 2 hours later. And he's like, that's 4 hours a day that I have extra practice and learning, and he's like, that adds up over time, and by the time we get to this level, I'm 10-15 years ahead of most of these people already. So it's a compound interest.
I did hear a story about him. He had some weird sleep schedule too, like he'd sleep twice a day, like in 4-hour chunks or something like that. But he had some weird, whatever works for him. But there was a weird thing where like a trainer, like the guy, he asked a trainer to show up at like 1 a.m. at the gym or something like that, or 2 a.m. The guy's like, okay, cool, and helped him out for an hour. Then the guy went home, and then comes back to the gym the next morning, and he's like, hey, good work the other day. He's like, Kobe was like confused what he was talking about because he was still there. It was still the same day for him.
Dude, that is crazy. What's wild though is like it's the difference between a guy that's working really hard at something, and then you just have a natural phenom like a Michael Jordan who really
Tim Grover
practice.
Tim Grover.
I don't even.
Tim Grover was Kobe's trainer. I have his book, Winning. It's a great book.
All right.
Okay. All right.
So that's a real story. I'm glad I didn't just make that up. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so lack of interaction, lack of curiosity when it comes to like self betterment.
No, I agree. I got to point to that too. Like, I think when I meet people, I think I come off as one of two ways. One, sometimes they feel like they're getting interviewed, or they feel like they're getting interrogated, right? Because I'm like really curious about something. But I also notice when I don't see that, that counterpoint in like somebody else in doing that, those are usually very boring people to me. They almost come off as like arrogant. And I don't know, is it just that they feel like they're fulfilled? Maybe I just come off as dull, or are they, or like why, or they just don't know how to ask questions. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's just really powerful for connectivity between other humans.
I think there's two sides to it. Like, so if you think about, because what James and what you are talking about, I think are a little bit different. Like you're talking about somebody that is wants the attention for the most part. Like think about the conversations we've had in certain groups where the entire conversation is one-sided. There's no curiosity coming from the other person to ask, because I think that's all about just attention, attention, attention. I think people that don't lead with curiosity, which is, I think I'm with James. I think it's one of the most important traits you can have as a leader of a company is if you lead with curiosity. If you don't lead with curiosity, I honestly think it's a form of laziness. It's not, I don't want to get any better. You feel like you're already at the top, and I just feel like it's laziness.
See, I guess I look at curiosity as being boundless. Not to cut you off, yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's like humor. You either have it or you don't.
Yeah, I think that when I was thinking of it as not much curiosity about other people that John was talking about, but which is related. It's more just curiosity about like how you could become a better salesperson, better programmer, better whatever. Now, I understand that maybe some people it's just a job to them, but at the same time too, if the way you get that better job is by figuring other things out to set yourself up for that. You know what I mean? So like and maybe it's like a tactics versus strategy thing. Like people, if like they're in a job they don't really like, they're not that motivated to learn anything new, but you're not going to get that job you like unless you learn something new.
Yeah. But then I think laziness comes into play at that point. If you're in a job that you don't like and you don't care about learning, I think that's lazy. Well, if you want to get another job and a different, like whatever, then you study up on it, you learn as much as you possibly can, and you earn the right to that next job that you want, whatever it is.
Lack of ambition. Yeah.
Ambition.
Yeah. Okay. Or just take pride in whatever the fuck you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, John. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Chalk it up to that.
All right.
That's funny.
Personal one. Children. Oh, God, the worst.
That is so good.
Oh
good.
My God.
It's not, and I have to. It's not that I don't like children. It's just that it's more when parents can't shut up about their children, or people who really don't care. Drives me crazy.
I also don't have kids yet, but I have a new theory on that.
Yeah.
Go
but
ahead.
before you get into it, my daughter made this for me yesterday.
For those of you on the podcast that can't see this, Jared is holding up a "Best Dad Ever" sign created by his daughter, Justin. Yeah.
So
it's great, guys. It's great.
So my theory on this is that first off, like people, maybe they're not curious enough, but they believe because they created this thing that and they love it so much that it is like the best, right? And everybody else would also share that. Like they don't understand their like own bias, and they just keep like going on and on. And when I was a kid, I remember Kathy Lee Gifford. She would always talk about her son. I think his name was Cody, right? Remember, she was like Regis and Kathy, right? Yeah. And I just remember everybody else, stand-up comedians and everybody like, well, that lady just shut the fuck up, because nobody wanted to hear about her and her kid. Like, it's just not something that anybody else want to hear about. I think there's taking pride in your children. And I think the other side too is just like we were talking about, just literally talking about nothing. Nobody has the same attachment because they're yours.
Yeah.
It comes, so every once in a while we'll go out with other couples that the wife usually carries the conversation only about the kids, and we get done, we're like, oh my God, the whole point in going out to dinner was not to talk about the kids once. I think what it is honestly like that's their life. That's all that a lot of people know is that, and they don't have anything else to talk about. So it's almost like it's very hard to generate a conversation around anything that doesn't have to do with their kids, because their kids are everything, right? So I would say that, James, I hear what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you.
They're not curious enough. They're not curious. I have a friend. His wife is a stay-at-home mom. And like she's one of the most fun ladies to hang out with. You know what I'm saying? Like she doesn't dominate the conversation with that. She's very curious, asks really intelligent questions.
I think the same. So, Gerald, put it this way: I hear you, and I understand.
Thank you.
Thank
you for leading with empathy.
What I want to say is that everybody has things that they care about and is their world they feel passionate about. Now, my things are incredibly fucking nerdy. I love options and derivatives trading, and I love fictional writing. And these are two hobbies I have on the side that I could talk endlessly about. but I'm also very keenly aware that no one gives a fuck and wants to hear about it. So anytime I start a conversation about it or talk about it, within 30 seconds, I'm like, you know what? I'm nerding out. We can stop and move to something else. I only continue if they're like, no, I'm actually, it's the first time I've heard about this, right? People are not like that with their kids, though. They are not like that with like, oh, like no one ever says, you know what? I'm talking too much about my kids. It's like never happens. It's like this weird thing where there's like a lack of situational awareness that
for the listener, right? They're not going to say like, they want to hear more, right? It's not, and also they're like, okay, well, how can I experience the kids? Can they come over and mow my lawn? Will they wash my car? I think at that point, it's like, all right, I get a little bit of labor out of it. Then it's more interesting.
Yeah, that's good. James, you're gonna do you babysit at all for your sister?
Oh, they're too old now. Plus, they're in like basically Wisconsin or northern suburbs, and I'll make it up there.
Very strategic.
They used to be in the city. I used to babysit more often. Yeah. Anyway.
Just stare at them. I can picture James babysitting, just staring. Like, you know how cats stare at their masters, and they're like, as soon as you fall asleep, I'm gonna gouge your fucking eyes out. I can picture James just having that stare.
When they were really small, it was great because we had to basically feed them, entertain them for like 30 minutes, and then they were in bed by 8. You know what I mean? Then I just watched TV. So those were like the good years. But yeah.
But my bedtime's 9:30. Well, here it's 8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock here.
That's good.
All right.
I think
we got?
I think we cussed a lot on this episode.
Yeah,
there's a lot of.
We might need.
Really?
Well, you got me heated on the LinkedIn thing. That's where it started. So.
Are we trying to curb that, or is that something we're trying to curb? I missed the meeting.
Didn't somebody say we were trying to curb? Well, actually, I got a text message while we were on this from my buddy Eric that said, "Watching your latest episode, I need to hear John's story that got cut."
Yeah. So maybe this is how we close this one. John had a story last time. John, don't say anything because you're just gonna lead. You're gonna go right back into why we had to cut it. And let's just say he added some unnecessary detail, descriptive about a particular person in the story, and then we waited for it to be relevant, and it really never became relevant at all. We're just gonna cut this entire thing, and it also didn't really relate to anything. So it's just like whatever.
Sometimes John comes into the calls before we hit record and says, "Hey guys, I got a story." So we're like, "All right, go." 9 times out of 10, it's good, but every once in a while, it doesn't make any sense.
I honestly think it was my fault because going into the last episode, we always try to have some sort of story to intro, and I think Jared would just say, "John, you got a story?" He's like, and you put John on the spot. Of course, he's going to say yes, and it was just the first thing that came to mind, and it wasn't apropos of anything. And anyways,
being put on the spot, real quick. This is a quick story. You guys were there though. We were at an event, and we were all introducing ourselves, and you guys were before me in the sequence. And I can't remember. One of you guys was like, "Hey," do like, "make sure you plug the podcast." And then it comes to me, and I was like, "Why the fuck they didn't plug the podcast?" But I was like, "All right." I was like, "Hey, everybody!" I was like, "The Business is Bullshit podcast," and just watching everybody's eyes just look at me like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" Yeah. Anyway,
that was funny. Big round.
Another story we can cut.
All right. That is a wrap for episode 12 of the Business is Bullshit podcast. You can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. James Hornick, Jared Gibson, John Sirakis signing off, reminding you that business is bullshit.
Later.